well. I think his rewards are coming now from all the effort that he's been doing all the season. And as a team, if we progress together, I think the individuals will come after.
Okay, so last job for you, player of the match,
my friend
Bruno Fernandes.
One more.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, those celebrations have come on a long way since Cole and York, eh? More rehearsed.
They certainly have.
Yeah.
Fair play.
They're not as frequent, I must point out. So he hasn't had a lot of practice like you in rehearsals. When your right back who's being asked to play left back gets your first Premier League goal in your 100th game, you know it's a good day.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, you can see he's absolutely buzzing there as well. Finally to score for Manchester United, 100th game. You can't ask for much more than that.
Nice finish as well, wasn't it?
It was a really good finish. Good work by Anthony. Two-touch finish. Obviously, he's been watching the centre-forwards finish off in training. So, yeah. And I think his run as well, his runs come really, really late. Especially for a fullback to make that kind of run. You won't see it very often, but he's come really late and he's finished it off really, really well.
And a very first Premier League assist for Anthony, Michael.
Which is amazing, isn't it? Yeah, we were just looking at the stats. Also, this is a great run. We're talking about good runs. Weghorst creates an awful lot of space. Yes, he wants the ball, but they used him as a dummy run. And look at the space he creates there for Anthony, just to slip a ball through to Dallo, and it's a nice little finish, absolutely. But Weghorst plays a massive part in that, making an unselfish run.
I think it's a good job he didn't pass it there. No, seriously, he's offside.
Yeah, he would have been eventually. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a decoy run, Cole.
No, far from it. I mean, it's a fantastic run, as a centre-forward should make, but I mean, he's come so late there. You know, by the time he gets there, the defender's actually given up on it, so he's finished it well.
All round today, how influential was Bruno Fernandes in that game?
It was brilliant, you know, and as he said, he had so many chances as well, so many efforts on goal. But to have your position changed just before the game, and for him to slot in and have a performance like that is brilliant. He was so unlucky not to score. Navas was really on him.
I was going to say, he's got 3 Champions League medals for a reason.
Exactly, you know, and that save there was a little deflection. The one onto the bar was brilliant.
Is this the best, David?
It certainly is, yeah. You know, because when I first saw that, I wasn't too sure whereabouts it hit it on the crossbar. But when you see it from behind there, it's a real special save. Top hand, yeah, great save.
Yeah, and especially his performance was especially made good because, as we know, and as we touched on, you know, an injury in the warm-up, and he's just palmed it off in many ways. But to play a different role in the team when you're preparing for a certain thing is great. You know, great mentality.
Well, you're absolutely right. There was a change in the warm-up. That, of course, meant that Marcel Sabitzer didn't start and Christian Eriksen did, who's now going to join us live from the City Ground. Christian, thank you very much indeed. Your first Premier League start since January. Been through a lot of hard work to get back to that. How did it feel?
Yeah, no, it was nice to be back. Obviously not the normal routine of getting someone injured Marcel injured and then coming on instead of him, which was sad. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be back, definitely.
What's the script there then? When did you know? Because obviously you're preparing to be a substitute.
Yeah, no, they were doing some finishing in the end. And then I heard Wout told me that Marcel went inside. It doesn't look like he's coming back out. And then, you start thinking, who's he going to put on? Me or Fred or Pele or whoever. So I really started making my ready there.
And what's that like? Because obviously it is different preparing when you know you're playing for, sometimes 24 hours.
I prepare normally for a game, even if I'm a sub. You still want to be involved and you need to be ready. In the end, like you said, I've been out for a while, so for me just to get some minutes and be back, this was perfect.
Christian, it's Michael Owen, well done, and it's great to see you back as well playing
Thank you.
Today. You've been out obviously for prolonged periods of time, but now you come back into a team that's actually challenging on all fronts. This could be a special season, actually, probably, you know, against all expectations beforehand.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, it's like I told my teammates when I got injured, just keep winning games, then that'll be enough for me in the end to catch up. And they have. I mean, we haven't lost that many games. You already have a trophy already. And like you said, we are fighting for everything. We know it's going to be tight, but we're in a good position for anything. And it's fun. It's fun to play football when it's fun.
Hi, Christian, Andy Cole.
Hi.
Are you okay? I'm kind of like in awe of you, I'm not going to lie, because the way you've come back to playing football at obviously this level again, mentality-wise, you show absolutely everything. For you personally, how have you done it?
What do you mean, like injury-wise or before that?
Both, because I'm sitting, I'm watching you play today. Obviously, I watch you play at Old Trafford, being away and watch you as well. I mean, the way you strut around the park is fantastic to see that you can sustain the levels that you did, obviously, by your illness and what happened then. But now it's just fantastic to see you out there.
No, that's also how it feels. I mean, I'm one of the few that's very happy to be back and be here in general. How crazy that sounds, but no, I just enjoy playing football. And obviously, when you're winning games, it's a lot more fun to be involved. But no, I'm in a good place. It was a bad time with the injury. Being away for 2 months was tough, but now I'm just happy to be the footballer, to be back.
And people call it the business end of the season. This month's crazy, isn't it? This was the first of 7 games in 22 games. But that's what you want as a Manchester United player, isn't it? Yeah, no, I mean, it comes if you keep winning games. Like I said, we're in on all fronts. So, there's more games coming. And at least when we continue winning, there'll be more and more. So it's really up to ourselves to put ourselves in playing as much games as possible, because then we know we're on a good run. Really well done today. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you. You're welcome. Christian Eriksen live from the City ground. What an answer he gave to your question there. Because you said that to us a few times, considering where he's been to be playing for Manchester United now.
I just think it's absolutely unbelievable. You see him today, he was out for another 2 months. Obviously with the injury he's had, but you watch him today, you can see his quality. I mean, he gets on the ball, he produces passes, keeps things moving, keeps things, as we would say, keeps things ticking over. But his quality shows straight away. But to know that you've been out of the game for so long, come back, play the way you played, and you missed another 2 months by injury, and play the way you played today, I just think it's absolutely fantastic.
When you were missing for a small period of time, I'm not sure, you didn't really have any bad injuries in your career, but did you feel like you needed a bit of time? I hated coming back from injury. Yeah. I was awful for like 2, 3, 4 games coming back from. I struggled to find my touch again, whereas he just comes back today and looks like he's never been away. How did you feel coming back from injury?
I always felt coming back from injury, I think it's one of the most difficult things you can do, because you're in form, you get injured, you're possibly going to miss a couple of months, then you think to yourself, right, I'm going to need about 2, 3 games. Because the first thing, when you start playing after an injury, you start running around, your chest starts burning for fun. And it's crazy, because you're fit, but you're not match fit. And he looked match fit today. I just think he's absolutely fantastic.
And particularly, David, like I was asking him, I mean, most of the time they know 12, 24 hours in advance. He knew 20 minutes in advance. Yeah,
exactly. And to put that performance in was just brilliant. Like the guy said, though, whenever you see him play, he never looks like he's been out. The quality of him just shines through all the time. And, long may that continue. And like what Michael said, Man United are on to good things. Like doing it like quietly as well. When you think of how this season started, and it seems like ages ago since the Ronaldo saga, to where they are now and what they can achieve, shows that there's something special going to happen.
And today they had 10 players unavailable at kickoff.
Yeah, I think for me personally, you look at that as a positive. The manager touched on it, no excuses, and the players didn't make any. They've gone out there, they've won, very, very comfortable in the end. We can always turn around and say, he's only Nottingham Forest. It makes no difference. They won away, which is massive in the Premier League because there's no easy game.
Well, just to put that into context, they're only the second team in 10 games to win at the City ground.
There you go. So mentally you can see it's all there. Now I'm just hoping like they can keep it together from now to the end of the season. Try get through on Thursday, FA Cup and whatever, just cement the top 4, because everyone wants to be in the Champions League come next season.
Yeah, in a week's time they could be in the top 3, a final of the FA Cup and a semi-final of the Europa League.
Steve, if they can pocket another trophy, it will be some season. I mean, not many teams go from where they were to winning a league. So I think even the most biased Manchester United fan would say this is a really successful season. To finish in the top 4, which by all intents and purposes they're going to do now, to already have a Carabao Cup in their pocket, that's a fantastic season. And to look like you're progressing as a team, a real good season. But if they can pocket another trophy, the Europa League or the FA Cup, then it's one hell of a season that is, and that's going to give everyone huge lift for next season, when they will be expecting to obviously get a lot closer to the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City.
You see, you touched on it there. Next season, if Manchester United pocket another trophy, expectation levels are going to go through the roof. People are talking about winning the Premier League. And I'm going to sit here and be brutally honest. I think Man United are a few years away from winning the Premier League.
A few years?
Yeah, I genuinely do believe so, yeah. When you look at, talk about Man City have not played particularly well this season. If you look at where they are, not playing particularly well. So when they do play well, where they're going to be? Because if you look at the gap between Manchester United and Manchester City, obviously Arsenal as well, Liverpool are only going to get better. Chelsea can't play any worse. I'd spend all that money. You know, are Man United going to compete next season to win the Premier League?
What do they need to do that, do you think?
Strengthen positions.
Yeah, which ones?
Centre forward.
Most
possibly,
important, Coley.
Yeah, centre forward. I mean, if you look at Manchester City, you look at Haaland, he's got nearly 50 goals, by the way. Man United, if you take out Marcus, he's got 28 goals. If you look around, there's no goals in the team. You know, look at Anthony, he's got 4. You know, and I don't think anyone's got any more than 4. Naturally, you've got to spread them around. I think last time I was in it with Scholes, we were saying like the boys we had, me, Teddy, Ollie and Yorkie. I mean, you're getting 20s, 15s, 20... It all adds up come end of the season.
And you all scored when you came on as well.
Yeah.
You know, so that made it a lot easier.
Don't do that to yourself.
No.
Don't go back there.
Not all of them.
We touched upon Anthony Martial before the game, starting a league game for the first time in 3 months. What did you make of him overall?
Well, I thought he had a massive hand in the first goal. In fact, he was instrumental, so you've got to give him a pat on the back for that. I think he's never convinced as a first choice player on a consistent basis. We said before the game, you know, eight and a half years there now, and we're still asking the question. Well, that really answers the question, doesn't it? But if you're going to be a Manchester United number 9, and Coley will tell you as well that, you know, you need to be getting in the box. You need to be scoring goals, and a lot of the time, I think he likes to you know, play outside of the box. He should be thinking, right, this ball's going to come in any minute. Forget the build-up play. Get in there. And even if the ball comes in, he's 10 yards in front of the front post. He can never score. And constantly, Coley, we were watching throughout the game and thinking, I mean, look at this again. Mm-hmm. This is a perfect ball for him. There were so many great examples of him maybe getting on the end of something if he had that killer instinct.
Gamble. I think as a centre forward, yeah, and if you're going to play as a number 9, you're gambling. Because you have to gamble. You can't think, right, it's going to drop on the edge of the box and I'm going to put it in the top bin and it's going to look all sexy. It doesn't work like that. So as a centre forward, you're playing 6, 18-yard box. That's where you're playing. You've got to play inside the goal. And if you look at Martial...
Is he, though?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I was looking earlier on in the game. He was receiving a pass, 18 yards out, and then playing up the pitch from there. Centre forward, I don't want to go in there. I've got midfield players who've got to get me the ball. But he's going so deep to get involved. You turn around and say to yourself, well, if it does go up front, you're not going to score because you're setting out back in. You can't do that.
Haaland taps that last ball in.
Yes.
Haaland gets in the box on the second to last clip. Haaland probably we look at Martial there today and think he's had one chance. He struck it well, bounced, you know, and the first goal occurred. But that's it really. You didn't really see him have any other chance.
The header.
And the header.
The header.
But Haaland scores 2 goals there today from you know, what we're saying is he's had sort of one chance, maybe 2 chances. But if Haaland was playing in that game, he would have. In fact, he might have scored a hat-trick because of the header that we're talking about as well. Just before he got substituted. In fact, here it is.
A great chance.
This is he got substituted straight away after this. But again, Haaland scores that. Yeah. So you're talking about a lad that's just had 2 chances, but if he gets in the right position, he would probably have 4 or 5 chances a day, and Haaland would have scored 3 of them. And that's the difference between, you know, a great team and a good team. Centre forward is such an important.
I'm interested here with you two. Can he improve? Let me give you an up-to-date example. Ollie Watkins has got 11 in 12, and Unai Emery was asked, "What have you done differently?" And he said, told him to stay central.
Yeah.
Don't drift wide. I remember when Carlo Ancelotti was at Everton and Calvert-Lewin scored in about 8 games in a row, and I asked him, "What have you?" He said, "I have told Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I worked with Inzaghi at AC Milan, do not move from those goalposts," and he scored goals. So has he got it if someone can get a hold of him and apply those similar methods?
For me personally, yeah.
Or do you think that it has to be a natural?
If I'm a centre forward, why does the coach need to tell me to stay in between the 2 sticks? That's where the goal is. The goal never moves. So it's just like, you look at centre forwards now, they want it feet. Why not run in behind me? Because that's where the goal is.
So he's not natural, that's what you're saying?
No, he's far from natural. He wants to get involved in order to play because I don't know if everyone's got in their head that he's got to look pretty. I'll tell you where he looks pretty, from 6 yards. You're getting a tap-in, it's beautiful from there. All the other stuff, I can't get involved in all that nonsense. Because people turn around and say, well, hold up, what are you doing? Who's going to tap it in? And that's where you've got to perceive as a centre forward. You know, have you ever seen Haaland really get involved in the play?
How many times did you see Man United, like Giggsy, Nev, Bex, just as soon as they got the ball, they knocked it in because they knew that they were going to be in there. Like now, they don't know. They don't know where he is.
Yeah, those last two clips were
and getting
so
back
evident.
to my example of other managers and other players, Martial's had 5 different Manchester United managers.
Yeah, and he's been there an awful long time as well. Don't get me wrong, he's a fantastically skillful player, but probably a left-sided attacker, likes cutting in, likes curling the ball into that far corner. But that's what
he was the one who said he
really
wanted to be a centre-forward.
He might want to do that, but he's probably better coming off the left.
And you mentioned that five managers is faithful. Every manager's given him an opportunity, by the way. No one's fobbed him off. Everyone's given him an opportunity to play. So if 5 managers give you opportunity, that means they rate you as an individual, rate you as a player. It's for you to grasp it. And being at Man United for 8 years, and having 5 managers, at some stage someone's going to have to turn around and say, well, is he actually going to do it?
And do you think Ten Hag might make that decision in the summer about him?
I would be astonished if Manchester United don't go and buy a centre-forward.
Yeah, but do you think he'll be there next season, Martial?
He'll be. If it's not this time, it'll be the next window. I can't imagine Manchester United giving him a new long-term contract, put it that way. They're going to be actively searching for somebody to play in his position. He's got 8 games, 7 games, 8 games, and a few cup games to absolutely turn his Manchester United career around. If he goes and scores in every game, then all of a sudden it might leave the hierarchy scratching their head thinking, do we need a centre-forward? But they do. And if he does, I can only imagine it's going to be for a short term, because otherwise, he would have been doing it for the last 8 years.
To be honest, if it generates money and it makes sense, Manchester United most probably would sell him. Because then it takes the money from there and looks to bring in another centre forward. Because like I said, 8 years and you don't know what you got. It's the first game in 3 months. If Man United are going to compete to try and win the league, you can't have your main centre forward being out for 3 months and having to replace him with someone that you're bringing on loan. It doesn't work like that. If you look at the top teams, it doesn't work like that. It can't work like that because it's not viable.
Fascinating discussion. Let's hear from the man whose team couldn't score a goal today. Beaten again, Nottingham Forest. Here's their manager, Steve Cooper.
Well, Steve, obviously it's about the points and you've not got them, but as a game, as a Forest performance, what did you make of it?
Well, you're right about the points. That's the objective of every game that you play, and especially now in the position we're in and the timing of the season. So it is the be-all and end-all, and we've not got anything out of the game, which will be the biggest disappointment from today. Okay, you play Man United, full of good players and playing a great way. Tactically test you, which we knew was coming, and at times we stuck to the plan that we wanted in terms of how we wanted to set up against them. I just felt in the first half we didn't take care of the first pass well enough. There were times where we turned it over too quickly when we should have showed a better technique and a better level of composure. And at this level you have to be able to do that, because when we did, we had some half decent moments. Yeah, the first goal was disappointing. It's a sloppy turnover and you get punished. You do in this league, and certainly against the boys at the top end of the league, like Man United are. And yeah, obviously the task becomes even more difficult then. I personally think it's a penalty.
So first half, Harry Maguire, 0-0.
Yeah, the one on Dalot's not. It's his hand, but there's nothing he could do about that. I think it was Dalot when it's flicked off his... But the Harry Maguire one for me is a really, really poor error. The referee should see it, but I understand why he hasn't, because of the angle and the amount of players. But why VAR haven't is not right in my opinion, and it's another moment that's going to have big scrutiny on VAR. And obviously, there's been a lot of not positive decisions over the last few weeks, and in my opinion, that's another. It's not the reason why we lost the game, although it could be a second yellow and a red card for Harry Maguire, and it could have. We could have scored the penalty and gone 1-up. I'm not going to sit here and stand there and say it's the reason why we didn't win today.
But genuinely, how big an impact does it have on the match?
Because I don't want to use this is why we're in the league position we're in, and this is why we've lost the game. It's not. But for me, it's a bad error, and I get it, referee. But how Andy Madley hasn't seen it needs real looking at, in my opinion.
Did you feel like Awoni against Harry Maguire was actually a really fruitful area for you in the early part of the match?
Yeah, that's what we tried, and obviously with the early yellow card and trying to get down, we tried to play with strikers a little bit more split and expose the centre backs, and we knew there was only going to be a few moments where we could really do that. You want more. But yeah, definitely that's a space that they do give you on turnovers, and that's why I was disappointed that we didn't look after that first pass. Not necessarily had to go to the two strikers, but could certainly drag them out of position, because at times they do give you gaps to play through, and we've seen that in most games that they've played, as good as they are. But is one thing identifying and say that's what you want to do. It's another thing having the level of composure and technique to be able to do it. But there's no lack of effort from the guys. There's no lack of desire. Supporters were great again, stuck with us. Frustrating day, like you said at the outset of this, it's all about the points, and we've not got them, so we go away really disappointed. But we have no choice but to keep going, and that's just where we're at.
You said in your first answer, tactically, they tested you.
Yeah, they did.
How much of that is Fernandes and Eriksen finding space?
Well, it's one of the fullbacks playing inside and building as a three. It's the other fullback being inside. So they do, and then they get the overload in midfield, and obviously they're really good players. They can handle the ball. So and the times where we didn't quite get the press right was the real moments where they played through us. So
I was just going to say, is there any more you can do yourself or the players to stop that?
Yeah, of course. As football, it's decision making, and players have to play off as well as you try and set up. Players have to play off instinct, and decision making at the moment is something we are really focusing on, because we feel that at times we haven't been great at that with and without the ball. Football is a decision-making game, and we try and train it a lot. But yeah, so and obviously when you play against United and you make poor decisions, there's more of a likeliness that you get punished, and you saw that with the goals.
Well, let's have another look at the Harry Maguire incident, because Steve Cooper was quite strong there. He said it's a penalty, and he said it's a bad error by Andy Madley in VAR. Michael?
Well, first of all, Andy Madley would 100% have had a look at it and just decided that it's not a clear and obvious one. It's not enough to send the referee to the monitor. And we all know Howard Webb took over in his role not so long ago, and he said straight away that the bar is going to be raised. We don't want virtually every decision go into VAR, go and have a look, stopping the game, go and have a look at the monitor. It's only when there's a big error, a big error. Now, does that fall in the grey area of could be an error? Well, if it's one of those, which I think it is, because I'm looking at it thinking it probably is a pen, probably. But I don't think, oh wow, that's a really bad decision. And those probably ones, or not so ones, or whatever, that's what Howard Webb is advising, that the VAR is not going to be used unless it's an absolute howler. I don't think that's a howler. I do think the referee possibly could have given it, but when he didn't, I don't think it was going to go to VAR to be changed.
It's a penalty for me.
It's not for me.
Well, exactly. And this is the
Exactly.
point, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the point. If two people are like this, then that is end of argument. It's not clear and
I
obvious.
don't think it is with Andy around.
No, they can have their argument. But I'm saying from VAR's point of view,
It's
that's
crazy.
it.
I mean, when you talk about making yourself bigger and all that nonsense, yeah, if you got your arm out there, does that not make you bigger? Yeah? So we see the earlier one today with Antonio. You turn and say to yourself, well, he's not even looking at the ball, and he's sitting on his hand. So I need someone to make it make sense to me now, because I'm done with it. Like I said, I don't even know the rules of footballs anymore, but make it make sense. How can you give one and not the other?
Michael, what do you think?
Yeah.
How can you give Antonio and not that? That's what.
Well, I didn't think Antonio should have been a penalty.
There you go.
And I probably think that one was. And both of them are on the, there will be people screaming at the telly saying yes.
So the difference
no.
is the Antonio one was given on field.
Exactly.
Right.
And that is the point, that the referee is not going to change their mind unless it's an absolute howler. And here's me saying this is probably not, in my opinion. And so it's not going to go to VAR.
But the difference is the referee points to the spot here.
Exactly.
Now, on the Forest one, Steve Cooper saying he didn't have the view, but that's when he's asking VAR to help him out.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, over the past few weeks, there's been far too many errors with a system that was supposed to make football even better. There's been too many errors.
David, why do you think this isn't a penalty?
I think this isn't a penalty because it's not on target. I know it's come a long way from a corner, but it's not like a defender or a striker's coming in and headed it towards
like the
goal.
West Ham one was a shot.
The West Ham was a shot, it was goal bound and it was blocked by a hand. Even the one that Darlow miscontrols and then it hits his hand. If that's the other way around and then they go on to score from that, they disallow it for handball.
See, and the crazy thing is there, if I'm an attacker now, I'm taking a defender on, if I flick it up on his hand, will he give a penalty?
No,
Most probably will.
because the defender should have his hands behind his back like that.
He should, but if he doesn't, he's going to give a penalty. So if the defender's jockeying you flip it up on his hand, yeah, he hits. I bet he gives a penalty.
I just think that at the moment, VAR are probably right to be doing what they're doing and leaving a lot of the decisions to the referee.
Nothing.
Well, if you consider, let's say he went to VAR for that second one and actually then give a penalty.
Yeah.
David's saying it's not, self saying, and I'm probably saying but there's still an argument. We're saying, there's going to be half the world now screaming it was and half the world that it wasn't. So they then wait for the game to stop and all the rest of it, and then we're still arguing. We'd still be arguing.
Yeah.
So I do think it's a really tricky thing, VAR. We've argued till we're blue in the face, haven't we, for so long. Unless it is really clear, then I think it's best just saying, do you know what, you just go and referee the game. Go back to a little bit back to what it used to be. And let the referees just referee. And then if it's a big mistake, then interfere. And that's, I think, where they're going at the moment. Whether that's right or wrong, I probably think it's the right way.
OK, let's have a debate about the next 7 games for Nottingham Forest and whether we think there will be a Premier League club next season, because that was a body blow again to them today. Trip to Anfield next, and of course they've only got 6 points away from home all season. Their home games: Brighton, the bottom club Southampton, and the leaders Arsenal. They've also got to go to Chelsea and Palace on the final day. What chance do you give them of survival, David?
A lot less than Leeds. That's a tough fixture running. Especially when you're getting towards the end as well, and you've got Chelsea and Arsenal to play. That's going to be a big ask.
Yeah, you look at Southampton, don't you? At the City ground, you'd think, right, you've got to win that one, but they're going to have to find another
3. Do you think
4 or 5 points as well?
3 wins
outside of that, at least. Yeah. Definitely. I can't really see that. That's harder than. I'm not too confident. No.
I think that dire straits, to be fair. I really do. Looking at Liverpool, we can talk about Liverpool, not Liverpool, what they used to be, but it's still Anfield. They proved last week against Arsenal. They're going to find it really, really tough. And I've touched on it. If you're going to bring in 23 players at the start of a new season and expect them to gel, in the Premier League, it just can't happen. Yeah,
and the other example of that is Chelsea, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've seen it so many times, everybody buying so many players. It's a very, very dangerous thing to do. And I actually think Steve Cooper's a very good manager and will continue to be so. But getting thrown 20-something players at the start of the season, I don't care whether you're,
And the question is for me as well, how many of those players did he actually want?
Yeah. And then you're bringing him into a dressing room that's full of players that have just got them promoted. Yeah. And a lot of them players aren't going to play anymore. It really upsets it.
Yeah, good point. Forest remaining in the bottom 3. Manchester United into the top 3 with that cushion between themselves and 5th place. He had to patch things up a little bit today with 10 players out and a busy week up and coming. But he's got the job done. We'll get his thoughts next.
Well, Eric, a good win. 3 points. What are your thoughts after that?
Solid win, I would say. Really focused, really concentrated from start to finish.
Was there a slight worry that you didn't get the game won with more of a gap earlier on?
Not a worry, but you have to get the second goal, then life gets more easy. And we created a lot, but we didn't score. First, late on in the game, and I think we already should have closed it early on. Because always is the threat that you make one mistake and you get an equaliser, so you have to avoid that.
A clean sheet. You had to make changes in defence because of injury. How do you think the defenders that came in did?
Very good. It's a really solid performance from all who are on the pitch today. Back four played very well. Centre halves both really good in cooperation. Both fullbacks, I think they were brilliant for me. In possession, out of possession. But when I say Harry and Victor, really well cooperation. I think they did dominate their opponents, didn't give anything away, and in build-up they were very good.
Diego Dallo playing at left back, and he comes up with a goal. It looks as though he can play either side very, very comfortably.
Yes, I think he can, and he proved it today. He can use his both feet quite easily, so his skills are good. His physical constitution is very strong, and that second goal, I think that's a great team goal, and he's in the right moment in the right spot, is also part of the plan.
Marcel Sabitzer, injured in the warm-up. What's the news on him? And also, the other side of that, Christian Eriksen gets a few more minutes, which must really help.
Yeah, that Sabitzer came off in the warm-up, felt something, and then we decided to bring him off, not to take the risk. We have to find out tomorrow what it is, how bad the injury, and if it's an injury. But when you have Christian Eriksen on the bench, it's definitely not a disadvantage for the team when you bring him on. But we need that numbers in the end stage of the game, of the season. We have seen with our defenders, last week I had 9 top fit defenders, now today we have 4. So it can go really quickly, and we need all the players all season. I think we are one of the teams who are still in 3 competitions and we want to stay there, but then you need good players to form a good team.
And talking of all competitions, you've got that test in Andalusia in southern Spain this week. Is anybody else going to come back? What's the news on the injuries for that game?
It's still 4 days and we have to see. We are hoping some are returning, but I'm not sure. I can't give a statement about that in this moment.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you very much.
Well, every United fan in the world is keeping their fingers crossed there are a few bodies back because Bruno Fernandes, of course, is suspended for the trip to Seville on Thursday, and Harry Maguire is suspended for the FA Cup semi-final as well, on top of Martinez and Varane. Yeah,
I think you mentioned the cup there. Most would be Varane. Not sure if Harry's suspended. Thursday, I think everyone will be looking at Marcus. Hoping Marcus is going to be fitting out to play on Thursday. But it is what it is. You know, I love listening to him because he's so direct. You know, get on with it. I mean, I can't complain about players that I don't have. I have to work with what I've got. And he was very pleased with the performance today. Now he's mostly saying to himself, right, if I get the same kind of application come Thursday, what more can I complain about? Hopefully the players come back and I can use them. If not, I'll go with what I have.
And it's often the case, isn't it, in any team? Like he's talking about Dalot there. There are 2 left-backs out. Dalot plays there, plays well, scores. Yeah. People take their opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And I asked the guys, I said, so what-footed is he? Is Dalot? You know, because he was showing great skills with both feet and he showed it in his goal. But so long as there's not many long-term injuries, I think, is it Martinez that's
He's out
for
the season, yeah.
So all the others are like getting game suspensions or just little injuries. Hopefully that's how it works out, so then they'll have a choice for the running.
Because when you look at the fixtures they've got left to play, they're going to need every single body inside that training ground, Michael.
Yeah, they certainly will. Some big games coming up. They might know their fate, towards the end of the season. I mean, if they're in finals, then great, but they might already have secured their top 4 space by the time they get to the likes of Bournemouth and Fulham, so they might be able to rotate there. But they've got a big squad, it's just that they're struggling with injuries at the moment. But this is what Manchester United are all about. I mean, the guy sitting next to me has gone through this for years and years and years, right the way through their career. This is what top-level football is all about. Managing injuries, lots of games, especially at the end of the season, when the big prizes are getting handed out. You will hear no complaints from Old Trafford about having a congested fixture list at the end of the season. This is what they should be doing.
And we were talking about City earlier on and alluding it to your 99 season, Andy. When you look at those fixtures and you look at a win today and a clean sheet, if they can do that and get to Wembley and get to the semi-final, do you feel that momentum? You said to me a few times, you and the boys forgot almost what competition it was. It was just another game to win.
Just play. Play, enjoy it, win, move on to the next one. We never used to dwell on, right, we've won 2-0, 3-0, whatever. Let's bask in the glory. Let's move on to the next game. Because we have to win that one to get to the next one. I think once you've got that mentality and you're involved in all these games, that's what, being at big clubs, you want to be involved in all these games. No player wants to miss out. So when you sub, you're absolutely devastated because you want to play. So there's no point anyone saying, no, I don't want to be involved in it. Of course you do. As players, you want to be involved in all those big games. So those fixtures coming out there for Manchester United, everyone wants to be involved.
When you used to name the team at 2 o'clock in the old days, at 3 o'clock, Andy Cole was a sub and he'd walk towards you. You'd walk the other way. You wouldn't want to see him when he was a sub. He was the worst person I've seen as a sub. Am I right? The worst person ever as a substitute. Yeah. I just wonder, when they've won the League Cup, when you're at a big club like Coley says, and you get that taste of the winning feeling and then look at that fixture, what's the difference when you've got a medal and then you see the opportunity of another couple there?
Well, there's a big opportunity, and it's also another trophy that's going to be on the team photograph for next season. Little things like that matter, but with Man United, the games are coming thick and fast. And I think I get a little bit worried about Arsenal because all they've got is the league. You know, so then they're not playing as much as what the other guys are, you know, and if you lose, you can get rid of that within 2 or 3 days.
Yes.
You know, but if you, like the last 2 results for Arsenal, there's been like a week in between, and it's more time to think about it, you know, and especially with our players that are not experienced at trying to handle this sort of pressure.
I agree with that 100%. 100%. And that's why if you listen to players who lose a game but still in competitions, yeah, they forget about it straight away because they know they've got a game Tuesday or Wednesday to play and win. Get the show back on the road, and then you move on from there. But week to week, it's like, oh, should have done this. Next week comes, if he doesn't get the result, he's back to, oh, we should have, could have. And I think Arsenal now, the last couple of weekends, 2-2, they'll be saying, oh,